everybody doing? It's been a while since we've been on Facebook Live. Um, the holiday season of Passover and lockdown and everything like that. But we're here. And of course, I am Aaron Katzman. I'm here to speak about your life, your money, and your investments. Before we get started, if you got any questions or comments, and I'm actually going to, the Facebook Live is based on a listener viewer comment question. So if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to email me at Aaron, Aaron, at lighthouse with an L, lighthousecapital.co.il. That's Aaron at lighthousecapital.co.il. Or you can check me out on the web at www.aaronkatzman.com. That's www.aaronkatzman.com, aaronkatzman.com. Facebook, right? Social media. We've got a YouTube page at Aaron Katzman. It's like, I'm like Kim Kardashian or Kylie Jenner, whoever it is, right? I'm like a social media whiz. Anyway, what I want to speak about, I got a really interesting question from a viewer, and it goes like this. Hi, Aaron. Hope you are well. It's always nice to get on my good side. My question is this. In view of the disastrous effects of Corona on people's pensions, does it make sense in the future to recommend that people who are coming towards retirement and have a good sum of money saved should cash in order to buy property which is more solid in which they can live off the rent? This could avoid the losses incurred. Interesting question, right? Especially here in Israel, where excuse me, property is king, right? The way to wealth, many people believe in Israel, is to buy apartments and to rent them out, let the rent cover your mortgage, and just keep sort of doing that. And then you have a steady income stream. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm gonna start off by saying I love real estate. Real estate's great. I like, as you know, as I've spoken about on my podcast, I've written about in my Jerusalem Post articles for decades already. Any kind of investment is a good investment. Hey, Marty, Mr. Martin Geifman, thank you very much for joining. Maybe we'll have a Corona on the beach soon. Joke, personal joke, Facebook joke. What I can say, and where it gets interesting, is that, as I say, I like real estate, and to build on real estate as your sole retirement plan, I think is mistaken. Why? First of all, as we get older, one of the most important things that people, not just investors, but people need, hey, Susan, is that you need to have liquidity. What's that mean? Say, God forbid something happens to you. Um, Generally, that God forbid something happens to you is in the health realm. But let's say you need a helper, or you need to do a renovation on a house to make it wheelchair accessible, or what have you. There's lots of different things that can happen. You need a significant amount of money. Now, if you were to take all of your money and dump it into real estate, and you need suddenly 50, $100,000, 200,000 shekel, whatever it is, to fund one of these things, you can't take a saw, right, and can't cut off a room, right, with your saw and say, here, this is a room in lieu of payment, right? You need to come up with the money. So liquidity is incredibly important. It's important all the time, right? As we see now during Corona, we've spoken many times about the need for an emergency fund, and we've gotten off of, when things were going well, right, we got off of basic financial principles, right? Number one being you need an emergency fund. But wow, do we need an emergency fund now? People are out of work, people are hurting, right? If you had money saved and you weren't all leveraged up in all kinds of different investments, you'd be in a lot better situation than those who unfortunately didn't follow those rules. Now, getting back to the retirement situation, liquidity again is king. I like to tell my clients all the time that the older you get, and as you go through and you approach retirement and you get into retirement, your number one priority should be to keep liquid. That's number one. Number two, is real estate so great? It is. It's good, just like any other investment, right? But why? Historically, stock market returns have trounced that of real estate. Again, I'm all for real estate. I'm all for investing, but let's just keep things in proportion, right? Especially now, there have been Facebook groups out there. I was walking around the neighborhood with my daughter when we were allowed to. I was not breaking the law. I was within my 500 meters, whatever it was at that point, and there were signs up for like demonstrations and groups of renters to get together to appeal to the government in order to stop allow them to stop from having to pay their rent to their landlords. Now, whether they were able to group together and get this through, I don't think worked. But the fact of the matter is, there are plenty of people hurting out there. There are plenty of people who are unemployed or furloughed or what have you, and they can't make their rent payments. So let's just say you own an apartment and your whole plan is for this monthly, the monthly rent to help supplement or be an integral part of your retirement, and all of a sudden that goes away. Well, voila, right? You're up the creek. So that's another reason you probably don't want to have an apartment. Third reason is it's hard. It's not so simple being a landlord. It's a lot easier collecting a dividend check, let's say from Johnson and Johnson. I don't think they're going to cut their dividend. Maybe they will. Or Clorox. They're certainly not going to cut their dividend. They're like rolling in it because everybody wants disinfectants and everything like that. Than it is to, we know that's going to come in. We're pretty sure that dividend check is going to come in, but we don't know at all that your tenants are going to be able to make their rent payments. And if they don't, there goes your whole plan, sort of blows up. Or if a pipe bursts in the middle of the night, right? That's another strike against real estate, especially as your only plan. The fact of the matter is, as I responded to the point number three, and I think the most important point, markets go up and markets go down, right? Whether it's Corona or whether it's 9/11 or whether it's subprime or whether it's blank, blank, fill in the blank, right? Markets go up and markets go down, but we do sort of know historically, it's just historical, right? Past performance is no indication of future returns. That's the mantra disclaimer of all those in the financial world, is that we don't know what's going to happen, right? But historically, markets move up, and they, sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes it's 1 giant step forward and 2 big steps back. But overall, that doesn't make much sense. Overall, things tend to go up, and you keep your liquidity. You can set it up where you have a constant revenue stream, and that's pretty much my answer. Again, I like real estate. I like all investing as long as it's reasonable. But within priority. And I don't think it's a great idea for people who are getting on in years and entering retirement to cash out of their stock and bond portfolios and put all of their money into residential real estate with the hopes that the rental income that's going to come in is going to be enough for them to have a solvent retirement and enjoy a secure retirement. Plus the fact that you really, really, really need to focus and keep as much liquidity as you possibly can in order to get through. Thanks so much. You've been watching the Aaron Katsman Facebook live show. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to email me at Aaron, AARON, at lighthouse with an L, lighthousecapital.co.il. That's Aaron at lighthousecapital.co.il. You can also check me out my website at www.aaronkatsman.com. That's www.aaronkatsman, aaronkatsman.com. You can check me out on Twitter, here, Facebook. I got a YouTube channel. We're all over. We're conquering social media, as I said earlier. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. If you've got any questions, feel free. Maybe I'll discuss your question on a future show. How exciting is that? We'll speak to you soon.